So today I want to ask the question, has Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Season 2 lived up to the hype? Has it been good? Or has it been an inferior season in comparison to Season 1? Because let's kind of backtrack for a second, and let's just think about what Season 1 really left us on. It left us on, Rudy being abandoned by Eris, and him just being left alone for the first time in a very long time in his life, to also separating, his party separating dead end, completely going their separate ways, to having Rudy get a hole put in him like a donut by the Dragon God. And there was a lot that really happened, and that's just like the ending parts of Season 1. And obviously, thanks to the wait and just the anticipation, we dive headfirst into Season 2 with Episode 0 that focuses on what was going on with Sylphie when, the teleportation incident happened, and then we move over to a time skip with Episode 1 to Episode 3 that focuses on Rudy being alone, diving into his character now for the first time being alone in a very long time, and introducing a character called Sarah that, was kind of like this bootleg Walmart heiress that did even more damage to Rudy's mental state and caused the effects, or the domino effect, that is taking place throughout all these episodes of Season 2. And the big thing I want to bring up is that before Season 2 even aired, okay, before Episode 0 aired, Episode 1 aired, etc., there was already a lot of, worries. Skepticism, because, there was a director shift. The team was a little bit different that was working on Season 2, and the art style obviously took a huge different turn. If you watch, the episodes, you compare it to Season 1, you'll 100% see the difference in, character designs, the character models, etc. They do look very different, even if slightly. And on top of that, Season, 2, with the beginning content, Volume 7, I think everybody can agree that they definitely wanted to get through Volume 7 as quick as possible. The very content of Volume 7, focusing on Sarah, and just Rudy's little brief journey and all that with a group and all that, it's clear that, the team that worked on this season didn't really care too much. Maybe that's, I'm going too far with that approach, but maybe they wanted to get through the content and get to the real meat of the season, which was obviously the Magic Academy, focusing on stuff with, Rudy and, just Zenoba and all that, just seeing him explore magic once again. It seems like they wanted to get through that content very quickly, which goes into what I was talking about, is it good? Because the early stages, when these first few episodes came out, there was a lot of complaints. I saw continuous amount of big fans of the story. People that really love Mushoku Tensei Season 1 and loved light novels, loved the manga, etc., that were complaining about the early stages, which, to be fair, were kind of valid. Anyone that actually watched it could agree that there was a lot of, cut content, and even as I discussed for, Episode 2 and all that, it felt like there was an identity crisis of what they wanted for Episode 2, because it was just going all over the place with just the narrative and what the story was wanting to do within this given episode, and it's it doesn't want to focus on Sarah and Rudy's relationship, doesn't want to focus on Rudy's, skill as an adventurer, his isolation. There's a lot of things that, Episode 2 did, and I think that this was a big turning point for, Season 2. A lot of people started to think, oh man, this is definitely not as good as Season 1. But then we fast forward to, parts of, Season 2, Episode 3, and then onward, and for the most part, every single episode since Episode 3 has consistently gotten better. Anyone that has watched, the latest episodes and all that, and actually enjoys the content, you can tell that, at least when it comes to character design, and the pacing, and the story, it feels more on model and on point than the previous early episodes of Season 2 did. And I think that it definitely shows, once again, to what I just talked about a few minutes ago, that they really wanted to get through Volume 7 content as quick as possible. And it really does make me wonder, is it because they just don't think it's really that important? Or they just, they wanted to get to the Sylphie content? There's so many questions I have. But into the main question, though, talking about it. As a fan, as someone that obviously enjoys Season 2 a lot, and it's been hella fun being able to discuss this series, talk about it on a weekly basis, just do discussions on the PVs, etc. It's honestly been a hell of a fun time. One of my favorite times as a content creator is to really dive into a series and enjoy what I'm talking about, really enjoy it and get immersed, and Mushoku Tensei does that. It always does that to me every time I talk about it. I love the fantasy world. I love just how it dives into topics that obviously can be taboo, and just different things like that. I really enjoy the content that Mushoku Tensei puts on display. And basically, once again, going back to the newest episodes, they've been legitimately good. Probably some of the best content of Season 2 to date in terms of, like I said, story progression, to just, like, the artwork and style and all that. It's been really good. And I have seen more people basically say that, yeah, Season 2 is amazing. It's up there with Season 1. It's definitely, better than how, the early stages of it was, and some are even saying that Season 2 is already surpassing Season 1, which, personally, as someone that really loves Season 1, I don't think Season 2 so far has surpassed Season 1. I think that Season 2 is good, and I do like the slow burn it's been, which I think is another big detail, actually, is that Season 2 has been quite a slow burn. Like, if we're just going into episodes and we're, like, talking about, like, just content of, like, Season 2, it's been very slow. Like, I mean, the very story, if I wanted to summarize what the story has technically been so far in a very simplistic way, it's been Sylphie having the identity of Fitz. We have this political game going on where the princess has to leave her country, and Sylphie's obviously protecting her. We have Rudy have his ED problem and his, isolation and loneliness, and just overall, he has a lot of mental instability. Then we fast forward to, episode 4 and onward, we have an elf character that is obviously a hound dog, and then we have a Magic Academy that, Rudy's just getting to rekindle a friendship with Fitz or Sylphie once again, and Zenoba as well. That's really, if you really want to be very simplistic and break it down very simplified, that's basically all that's happened in Season 2. Nothing too incredible, nothing too mind-blowing, but I think that this is, like, the biggest strengths that Mushoku Tensei has as a story, is that it can do these very slow moments and character-building moments, and legitimately it becomes very fun, and it builds up to something later on that is worth the slow burn. And I think that, a lot of people that obviously are already, 2 seasons deep, they're not going to drop it because of, it's a slow series. But I will say, in terms of shift, like the overall tone shift and all that, it is a little bit different than how Season 1 was. Because if you think about, the content of Season 1, if we go here, Season 1 basically had a lot of adventure. I mean, Rudy got separated and all that from everyone, and he traveled with Eris and Ruijerd. Literally, the second half of the whole story is just Rudy on an adventure, journeying through the world, and that literally was something that really drew a lot of people in, such as myself as well, alongside of the magic system that we got introduced very early on. And so, if you jump into basically Season 2, it no longer has that adventure vibe. I mean, yes, we're still exploring certain things, but it seems like the overall narrative is shifted to exploring the characters, exploring Rudy, exploring, Sylphie, and exploring magic to a degree. So, let's get back into the question. Has Season 2 of Mushoku Tensei been good? Personally, I think that it started off very rough and has gotten a lot better. And I think that as it continues and we get to see more of these high-quality episodes that they really go hard into, that I think that we're going to get some really incredible content very soon. That's just going to blow all of our minds. It's crazy to think, though, that we're already, 7 episodes deep, that, basically 4 or 5 weeks from now, series coming to an end, and we're gonna have to wait for a Core 2. It's gonna suck, but better wait than never. At least we don't want a Zom 100 situation to where, like, we get 5 episodes and then it gets delayed for 5 weeks or so. Like, that's, over-exaggeration, but you get the point. I'd rather not have a situation like that. I'd rather have to wait and have a set time until when it finally releases. I think that's completely fine. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. This was just something that was on my mind. I was just curious on how everybody was feeling about MT Season 2 so far, since, we're so far into it. But be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.